Then he entered the Academy of Magic, where he learned to control his magic and save the world from an organization of magical terrorists. Takeshi lives with his completely abnormal and dysfunctional family, and he hates them so much that he goes to school even during the holidays. Fortunately, his girlfriend Kirumi always goes to school with him, where they are both members of the fencing club. On one of the ordinary days, once upon a time, Keshi was about to enter the dojo. An injured girl fell out of the next room. He panicked and tried help her by taking him to the school infirmary, where the girl came to her senses and became her brother so that he would not leave her and hugged Takeshi. He was confused but understood what she needed. But then she opened her eyes and pointed a gun at him, mistaking him for a pervert. Suddenly her legs gave way and a small happy incident happened. She fell right on Takeshi's lips. She was embarrassed and shot at him from her magic pistol. But her accuracy was worse than that of a stormtrooper and she missed. She calmed down when she found out that Cassie brought her here to help and introduced herself as Muiaba. So Essie noticed the glowing smoke around her and asked what it was, and she immediately apologized because if he sees smoke, it means she ruined everything. Suddenly a black butterfly flew into the room and she shot it down, saying that it was a magical drone sent by her brother who wants to kill her. He wants to escape from Takeshi. But then her brother Soup appears with his gang. Takeshi tries to escape through the window, but they freeze him with magic. The guy with the big sword and his gang want to fight with them, and Takeshi takes out his bamboo sword to fight with. Then to his surprise he does a good job with it, blocks his attacks and even manages to hit him in the chest. It hurts the big man's pride, and he recklessly attacks Takeshi, throwing him back and eventually piercing him with the bamboo sword. At this moment Takeshi awakens hidden magical power and he sees the future movement of his enemy. He dodges the blow with the sword, jumps up and hits the big man on the arm to disarm him. A huge sword flies towards the mirror. Darely has time to dodge, but he breaks the window, giving her Takeshi a chance to escape. They hide behind a column and mirror Takeshi that she was a sorceress like the people who hunt for her. Then she apologizes and says that she turned him into a wizard with the help of her magic and begins to cry because it's her fault. Keishi is so kind, and he consoles her and Muri. At most wizards are afraid of ordinary people, so they hide their identity. One day her brother rebelled, then joined a radical group called Phantom Trailer, who wants to destroy all people. At that moment a girl, Takesha Kirum, comes there and is jealous of the new girl, but before she can understand what is happening, the big guy and the nerd from the gang comes to settle scores. Takeshi takes the sword to his girlfriend and says for her to run away with Mu, and suddenly attacks the girls and Muan cannot shoot at him. So Kirumi hits him on the head with a heavy book, this on Jay the idiot, and he takes out murder hornets from his briefcase that attack the girls. After a few seconds, he realizes that he forgot about the magic spell that prohibits magicians from fighting in the ordinary world. The spell works because he attacked. Amir screams from unbearable pain, and then the dark magic circle absorbs his power and Kirumi's life came into contact with magic due to the attack, and like Takeshi, she also became a sorceress and in 5 seconds received 5 years of character development thanks to the magic of transformation. At that moment another of their friends, a bully named Ida, comes there holding the hand of a girl from a gang of evil wizards. He says that she attacked him out of nowhere when he was going to extra classes, so he kicked her ass. He asks when Kiruma got implants for himself and his hand begins to burn because of his new one's magical abilities. The big man patiently waited until they enjoy watching, but now he got angry and attacked Takeshi, pushing him out onto the street. Takeshi uses his magic of foresight and dodges a powerful blow, and then predicts his movement through a cloud of dust again leaves him. He tells the man to give up, but he refuses and attacks him again. But he decided to help and used a powerful support spell, which turned out to be an ordinary flashbang grenade, blinded him, giving Tashi a chance to strike a precise blow to the throat of an enemy who bled and said goodbye with life. After that, Mu is told everyone to follow her and took them to a parallel world located inside the mirror. She said that this was a destroy world, a world of magicians, and Soeshi could not believe his eyes. The destroy world was a copy of Tokyo, where everything was destroyed by war. Then Nuri led everyone to the Suru Academy of Magic, also known as the Japanese Hogwarts, where they met with the director, Shiyu Momoko, a 15-year-old girl with 30 years of experience. She told the new magicians about the great magical war 16 years ago between Phantom Trailer and the rest of the Kazuma mages. The leader of Phantom Trailer and Valen Demort of their world used a divine level spell called Last Requiem to kill all the people But the 15 great magicians who opposed him used their powers to divide the world into two only when the world was destroyed by the last Requiem Mon, and now it is called the Destroy World. The living world remained safe. The two warring factions agreed that they would continue the war only in Destroy World, and the one who wins will gain control over the living world. The most powerful magician named Sage cast a spell called Gift on the living world so that mages could not fight. They're using the magic of their ancestors. After the war, the leader of the Phantom Trailer disappeared, and no one knew where he was, although some thought that he fell into a deep sleep after using the great magic spell. Momoka offers the three newly initiated magicians the choice to stay in the Japanese School of Magic and study magic, or return to their world. So Essie a little thinks and decides to stay to help Mu and reunite with his brother, and it is also not false because he believes that this will be the adventure of Kurumi. At first doubted but also decided to go to the School of Magic to be close to her boyfriend. Rock enrolls them in Class C for the first year of high school, and transfers Mu's SA to Class C because of her accurate actions. The next day the lesson begins, and the teacher tells the students about the magic of the ancestors, which is unique to each person. There are 6 types of magic of the ancestors, and they manifest themselves with using artifacts called aspects from Kurumi. This is a lip balm, and Ida has a ring with a skull. Takashi has no aspect, and the teacher scanned him, finds out that he is evasive magic, so he sends him to a movement class. In the store, they meet a cheerful salesman nicknamed _ who takes him to the armory. So Essie is surprised at first but then asks for a weapon similar to a katana since he already knows how to use it. Scartse gives him a strange black one, a sword with a magic circle on the scabbard, was once owned by one of the 15 great war magicians who has now retired. On the hilt there is another magic circle, and Ascar tells Takashi that this is a magic sword on which protective magic is engraved. If Takashi suits him, his strength will increase many times over, but if not, then he may lose his hand. While Takashi is thinking about what to do, the Scar suddenly attacks him, and he dodges and blocks his attacks, thereby activating the magic of the sword. The sword reacts to Takashi's magic and begins to absorb it to manifest its peculiarity. Moment before Takashi falls to his knees from fatigue, a bullet magazine pops out of the sword's hilt. Scar praises his endurance and explains that this weapon is called the Twilight Sword, and Takashi can use bullets charged with the magic of other people to transform his sword. Takashi takes the 3 bullets that Scar gives him and accepts the sword. Sun Hee and Vui return to the classroom, which burned to ashes because Ida's magic got out of control, but the teacher says that there is nothing unusual about it, and the lesson continues. The next day the trio goes to the training field to learn fighting techniques. Takashi has difficulty controlling his sword Dusk, and Ida also cannot normally use this Kuru magic more skillfully, but her transformation magic can only turn her into a model for a men's magazine, and Takashi is jealous when all the guys look at her. He worries when Ida explodes during training, and Kurumi scolds him for this, bullies them, and takes Kurumi with her to a swimming lesson in the locker room. She offers her tickets to a fortune-telling session whose love predictions come true 100%. The girls became interested because they were both thinking about Tashi, and then when they ran into him and ideas, they blushed. They were waiting for plans for dinner when several girls walked past them and began to insult Muir, calling him a traitor. Muiz and the green-haired teacher ran away. The green-haired teacher tells the new students about the 7 most powerful communities of wizards that stand for peaceful coexistence with people in the magical world. There are 7 most powerful communities, and their leader is the Wizard Bros, who stands for peaceful coexistence with people. The Phantom Trailer community was not one of the 7 communities, and everyone else especially hated him. Wizard Brace May, her brother, and the girls from their company were members of the Wizard Brace community, but when her brother joined the terrorist community, they hated him and called him a traitor. Takashi sympathizes with Mir, also hates him. Later they go to class, where Takashi finds out that several boys secretly took photos of Kurumi and how her boyfriend he takes all the photos from them. While he was reporting to himself, Kurumi goes to a fortune teller who tells her that Takashi will not be faithful to her and that her personal life is over. She turns over the table and runs away in tears. And later Mu comes to her to apologize for stealing her boyfriend's first kiss, but she explains that it happened by accident. Kurumi runs up to Takashi, and when she sees him, she immediately rushes to kiss her, but he stops her. She asks why he doesn't want to kiss his girlfriend if he kissed Mui, and he sadly replies that they can no longer pretend to be a couple. These words shock and hurt the poor girl, who has not paid attention to her for a week. Tessie, but then someone proposes to her thinking that she is again at the bride market. Kurumi refuses him, but a guy comes up from behind and touches her shoulder, which causes her post-traumatic stress disorder and she falls to the ground. Takashi runs up to help her and threatens to kill the guy if he approaches her again. Takashi remembers that Kirumi was a beauty from birth, and when she began to grow up the boys went crazy for her after an unpleasant incident with a stalker. She asked him to pretend her boyfriend to scare away the boys, and he agreed because he was her best friend. This created problems between Takashi and his younger brother Yaku, who liked Kirumi and got angry when he found out that his brother abandoned him. They were walking to school after a quarrel, and Takashi slightly pushed his brother and he fell right under the wheels of his car and remained disabled for life. Gaku still believes that his brother pushed him and therefore is angry with him. When Takashi finishes remembering everything, Kirumi asks him to return their relationship to its previous state because she needs him, and he agrees. Then she notices her indecent photographs in his pocket and takes them away, but she leaves one so that he can practice fencing at night. The next day, Takashi and Ida train together, and Ida tries to fill one of the bullets for storage with her fire magic, but he doesn't succeed very well and Takashi also doesn't succeed. Soon Kiruma runs up to them and says that Muivan left the map. They report to this teacher and he concludes that she was looking for her brother, but the school now cannot help her because the headmistress is not there. Takashi says that if the school does not help, Muin himself will go and help her. His friends think this is a stupid idea, but he really wants to save him, and in the end they decide to join him and meet at the gate where they hide and wait for the guards to pass. They pass through the gate and find themselves inside a protective barrier in a destroyed world. A woman in a veil sitting on a throne introduces herself the matron and the gate and says that the girl they are looking for did not pass through her gate. She tells them to return because there is a war outside. But suddenly, there is an explosion in the sky and a black ball of paint hits the barrier. Soon the paint turns into a magician whom the enemy turns into ashes. Kirumi clings to Takashi in horror and he offers to take her back to the academy, but they both follow him when he runs out of the barrier. Meanwhile, Mui is not far from them. Yesterday she went to fortune teller to find out where her brother is, and now she has finally found him. Her hot-tempered brother Suga tells her that it was a trap set by the fortune teller member of the Phantom Trailer and that he is going to take her there alive. Mu tries to remind him of the past, but he denies that he remembers her and grabs her by the collar. She tells him that it was she who gave him the gloves that he is now wearing and that his memories are returning to him. But by that time he is already absorbing her magic to defeat her when he drains all her magic. Takashi and his friends arrive on the scene. He is furious at seeing his friend on the ground and attacks Shuggle. How could he harm his little sister? Temperament his abilities. Forlock flies high into the air and throws ice spears at Takashi, who dodges and blocks them with the help of his foresight, but he does not have time and gets hit with the last spear. Shubi decides to lure Takashi into his ice castle. Ida pushes him off the roads and finds himself frozen. Takashi cannot free him, but Ida has a chance to prove himself and he tells him to save Mui. He remembers how Takashi once saved his sister from being kidnapped and now he is indebted to him. Takashi dodges Suji's attacks, approaches Mood in front of her. Hot-tempered, the guy realizes that in front of him is a newcomer who doesn't even know how to use release and decides to effectively finish him off with a hail of bullets. Takashi repels them all with his sword and sends several blows to free him from the ice prison. Then he takes Muck to his friends and tells Ida to charge him with a magic bullet because this is their only chance to fight back. Takashi again runs towards Subo, who descends from the sky to fight him. Takashi dodges his ice attacks and tries to defeat him with the help of a sword. But Suba also does not wear his sword just for beauty. He again attacks Takashi with ice spears, and the girls cover Ida, almost finish charging the bullet to 100%, and Takashi takes out a cartridge from his sword. Suba again attacks him with ice spears, and the girls block them with shields. Ida manages to charge the bullet and throws it to Takashi. As soon as he takes out the cartridge, he charges his sword with a machine gun that turns into a burning one. The sword, and as soon as the girls exhale, Takashi uses a powerful attack called Explosive Fog. The fog destroys Suba's attack and blows it up. He falls to the ground and Wei wants to approach him. But Takashi tells her that the battle is not over yet. Suddenly a white-haired butler named Vashijo appears from the smoke, who praises the talents of the new magicians and then teleports to the headquarters of the Phantom Trailer along with Suba. Later, Takashi and his friends return to the school, where the headmaster Momoka is injured after a recent battle and scolds them for breaking the rules and risking their lives. She asks them to promise that they will not do anything recklessly, but Kasha says that she cannot promise that. He is sure that we will not stop looking for her brother and he will always help her despite the danger. Mom likes his relationship, and she says that she will soon give him a chance to prove himself. The chance she is talking about is an exam on ancestral magic that will take place in a building created with the help of illusory magic. If Takashi and his team will cope with the exam, they will receive permission from Momo to go in search of Shug in a couple of months. The day of the exam comes and all the students are distributed to different floors depending on their ancestral magic. Takeshi and other magicians with evasive magic need to get to the central part of the building in the City of Illusions, avoiding obstacles and traps. The students run to the central building and encounter the first obstacle with machine gunner spiders. The spiders surround them and start shooting, but Takashi somehow manages to survive the first wave. Moving towards the goal, he sees the swordsman, Igon from the Suba gang, and enters into a fight with him. The guy says that he is only here to pass the exam and refuses to remember Takashi or the fact that he was once part of the Phantom Trailer. In fact, he was kidnapped by the Wizard Burst and his memories were erased so that he does not remember his stay on the dark side. Later, Takeshi encounters a rhinoceros who chases him around the city, and when he is ready to trample him, a glitch in the Matrix saves him. This attack was carried out by members of the Phantom Trailer who infiltrated the Academy campus to arrange hosts during the exam because of their black magic. The City of Illusions begins to collapse. The floor under his feet, Tasha disappears and he falls. But thanks to the magic of levitation, he gently falls and ends up in a labyrinth on Kurumi's floor. Not far from him, Kurumi is attacked by a stone golem. Otogami jumps and saves her and then destroys her golem. She is shocked to see him and then realizes that he does not remember anything about what happened on Earth. However, when he tried to save her, he was hit, and this made him leave the exam. After a while, Tasha and his friends meet, and they are all shocked to learn that Tashi and Kurumi met Ogami, but he did not remember anything. They tells them to focus on getting out of this level before it collapses, and they begin to look for a way out in the maze. They are almost at the goal, and a stone golem lands next to them. So as she gets ready to fight, that the golem throws away his powerful fire shot with one blow, who also does not affect him. Aida does not even have time to concentrate her magic to attack the golem, so as she tells him that they are again using a combo attack with a fire sword and asks Aida for a charged bullet. He throws a bullet at the golem, but his accuracy is as bad as that of a stormtrooper and he misses. Mu and Kurumi distract the golem, while Tashi picks up the bullet. The golem is about to crush the girls. Aida blocks his attack with a fiery blow, and in the meantime Takashi charges his sword cannon. He uses an explosive cannon on the stone golem and destroys it with one shot. A card flies out of the remains of the golem, and it ends up with the fortune teller Violetta, who is a high-ranking member of the Phantom Trailer. She came here to arrange Haas, but now having seen the Twilight Sword in action, she wants to get it the next day. Karuni reminds those Kishi of his promise visit the temple on New Year's with his family, but he doesn't want to do it. It enjays her. She runs away in tears to Amu and tries to reconcile her with Takashi, but realizes that she is ruining her chances with him. A few days later, Kurumi returns home to the world of the living, and Takeshi trains with Muen alone during a short break. Moody becomes insane due to the fever and provides him with the services of fan. Embarrassed, Takashi takes her to a dorm room, where she becomes even more deranged and hugs Takashi, sometimes calling him Kurumi and sometimes Tsubo. She takes him to her bed, and they do more than just cuddle under the covers. Soon she falls asleep and Takashi has a chance to leave, but the timing turns out to be unsuccessful, because at that moment Kurumi enters the room. She is shocked and furious that her boyfriend is cheating on her and throws him out of the room, and then does the same with Mir. Begins to cry at the door. He loses consciousness and runs call Takeshi to deal with his girlfriend, who, from an overabundance of emotions, turned into a child. Takeshi sits at the fountain, refuses to return to Kuruma, telling Mu that she is not his real girlfriend. He tells her that he pretended to protect Kurumi from his pursuers, but now wants to stop him, and thinks that she has a chance between Takeshi and Kurumi. For a long time, everything was awkward, but one day she notices Ogami in the library and comes to thank him. He calms her down because of problems in the relationship, and she runs out because embarrassment, where he encounters Takeshi and everything is strange between them again. A week later, the exam results are announced and Momoko asks Takeshi and his friends to pursue Suwa because they did well. She gathers them in her office to lead the capture operation herself and gets Muan a bullet containing binding magic, which will be useful to catch her brother without harming him. Then she creates a door to any place using black magic, and at the same time a group of prefects push Ogami and a girl named Haruka into the room. None of them remember their past, but they have to follow Momoko, the school nurse, and the prefect. Takeshi and his friends also join them, and they all come out of the destroyed world. Soon a magic circle appears in the sky and a car appears from it. Fur coat and a gray-haired man named Juru get out of the car to exchange hostages between the ghostly trailer and the magic bracelet. Ogami finally realizes that they were hostages only in order for the academy to be able to return the fur coat. Hataru is capricious and does not want to leave, but Ogami tells her to calm down and follow him before leaving. Kirumi thanks him for saving, and he tells her to be strong and gives her a parting gift from which she blushes. The hostages were exchanged, and Yuru talks about both Goma and Hataru get into the car that teleports them to the base, and he decides to fight one-on-one with Momoko, who invites him to do this in a crowded place. Now Shuba must deal with Tashi, his friends, and the others. He uses drive magic to strengthen his abilities, but is faced with the teamwork of his enemies. A film and to school prefects use drive to, and the nurse strengthens Takashi and goes with her strengthening spell. Shuba attacks them with ice spears, but the nurse blocks him with a wall of water. The two elders surround him and create a giant key with which they open the ground. Shuba falls into a bottomless pit, but barely holds on. Thanks to the icy uppry, nurse breaks it, but he gets out of the pit and even injures everyone except the main characters. He flies away, and the mule chases him. The nurse tells Takashi and I to go and save her, and Kirumi stays behind to help her heal the wounded mages. On the other side, Momoka and Yurju fight each other in the sky, remembering the old times when they were teammates. Ahiru says that she has not changed physically or mentally since they graduated from school, and notes that he has changed a lot and has become a villain. She says that now he is her enemy and attacks him with her magic sword with a compass. Awahiru dodges and strengthens his magic with the help of drive and release spells. He uses a powerful spell that attacks her with the help of a sight, but she creates a shield of black diamond with the help of her compass and blocks it. Then Wahiru uses her ancestral dissolution magic and spreads it throughout the area, claiming that everything within the radius of the spell will melt in 13 minutes. Momoka decides to deal with him before this time expires, and they engage in a fight that is accompanied by a powerful explosion. They continue to fight and exchange blows, but Wahiru overpowers the girl and continuously attacks her to push her back. Momoka comes to her senses and delivers a powerful blow that destroys the bridge under them. The Wahiru dodges, then the girl creates a portal and attacks him from behind, but he blocks her blow. However, it was only a trick and she shoots him from the front, while the compass sword attacks him from behind, and when Wahiru jumps to avoid the attack, the sword releases a chain that grabs his leg. Momoka throws him into her magical basement filled with explosives, and Hiru is blown away into the darkness. She thinks that he must be dead, but his magic is still damaging her, so she realizes that he is still alive. Suddenly a fountain bursts out of the sea and Wahiru comes out of him, saying that she should have made the walls of the basement stronger. He knew how her magic worked and she could not create a door to a non-existent place. He suspected that the room in which she threw him was at the bottom of the ocean, and his guess turned out to be correct. Meanwhile, his dissolving just a few minutes before she completely disappears. Onru tells Momo that their leader Kazumo will soon wake up and reveal all her dark secrets. The girl is shocked to hear this and uses her strongest magic to once and for all put an end to Wangru. She creates a portal to outer space high in the sky that sucks in everything around and remains in place, counteracts the barrier to resist the suction, and laughs because Momoka will die because of him dissolving into space. Sucks in the car. As soon as the fight ends and the portal closes, Momoka loses consciousness and falls into the ocean. While they were fighting, Shimua and Ida arrived on the set of the film Frozen, created by Tsu Fight. Ida tries to break through the ceiling with a fire bomb, but it doesn't do much damage before he can deal another blow. The ice castle's defense mechanisms activate and ice spears fly at them from all sides, dodging the attacks. Takeshi tells Ida that they are using the fire sword combo again. He likes to use the sword to shoot fireballs. At this time the attack bounces off of him and the sword flies away. Hell apologizes because he put too much force into the bullet. Takeshi tries to catch his sword, dodges the Shuba sword, freezes his hand, and Ida comes to the rescue, but he continues to slide. He decides that she is a strong and independent woman who does not need a man and is the first to rush into battle with her brother. Takashi shouts at her to wait because he is worried about her and to patiently melt his frozen hand. Takeshi tells his friend to start using the flame candles and put all his strength into him, assuring him that he will be fine. Upstairs, Mu meets Suga and she asks him if he is really happy. In the trailer, she is worried and says that she wants him to come back, but he attacks her without warning. Suga is about to finish her when a powerful explosion shakes his castle and Takeshi and Ida are lifted up on a pillar of fire to get to Suga and attack him. They protect Helmura uses Tendu on his brother, claiming that she wants him to be happy wherever he is, but adds that now he is unhappy. She begins to cry and Suga also can't hold back his tears. He is shocked by what is happening and then he sees them SMU childhood memories that drive him crazy. Takeshi and Ida rush forward to fight him and she loads her weapon with a trap bullet. She prepares for her last attack and her weapon increases as if it is 6 o'clock in the morning and then shoots at her brother. The shot hits the target and he loses consciousness. After a couple of days, Muan is already sleeping in the hospital next to his brother and she is surprised when she wakes up and sees that Suga has come out of coma and remember everything. She cries and hugs him while he strokes her head, and her friends watch their happy reunion. That same night, Takashi dreams of a nightmare in which he lies in a sea of blood. Kuru Washington runs to him to save him and cries over his body when a monster appears from the sea of blood. She kisses Takashi, but the monster drags her away with his tentacles, disappears. Takashi wakes up in shock when the dream ends and, after taking a few deep breaths, falls asleep again, but does not notice that his sword absorbs magic and then turns into a woman. The next day, Suba trains Takashi and his friends, showing how he uses powerful spells. Vei thanks Takashi for helping her save her brother and then giggles and gives him chocolate because today is Valentine's Day. She blushes when Suba comes up and shows Takashi that they gave him chocolate to so he shouldn't think of himself special. He teases Mu and that she likes Takashi and she shyly takes him away. Later, Kurum also gives him chocolate that she made herself and it's the same as Muiv's. Together she teases Takashi that he doesn't look that happy, but he can't tell her that he had a nightmare again last night. That night he again had strange dream in which he was high in the clouds and Mui happily ran towards the huge pudding. She fell through a hole in the clouds and woke up in a cold sweat. He went outside to get some fresh air and met Saga in the door. After learning about the nightmare, Saga told Tasha that sometimes bad dreams can be caused by magic and if they happen too often he should see a nurse. The next morning, Tashi discovered that Mu had twisted her ankle while running after someone who was carrying the pudding. He was shocked that it was his dream somehow came true, but then he got dizzy and lost consciousness. He woke up in the nurse's office, who told him that he just didn't get enough sleep and ordered him to sleep until she woke him up. Tashi obeyed, but he had another dream in which he saw Waiju and a strange girl who was looking at him. The nurse heard him groan in pain and ran up to him. It turned out that the Twilight Sword had turned into a girl and absorbed his magic. She again turned into Sword when she was noticed and the nurse tried to wake up Tashi and when that didn't help she hit him like an old TV remote and he woke up. As soon as he woke up, the nurse scolded him, asking why he didn't come to her sooner if he had frequent nightmares. Later she explained that it was because of the Twilight Sword, which is in human form. Without his permission, she used magic to cast a nightmare spell on him that shows the future 100% accurately through Dad dreams. The nurse says Takashi so that he does not put the sword next to the bed when he sleeps, otherwise the Sword of Heights will drain all the magic from him and will kill him. Takashi does not listen to her and every night puts the sword next to the bed. In his dreams, he sees how the sword quickly turns into a girl. This news reaches Momo, and the next day she calls Takashi to her office to scold him. She says that he owes the nurse, otherwise she will take the sword. But Takashi replies that he needs the sword because he wants to see what the sword is. Wants to show Momoka, threatens that if he doesn't obey, she will do to him the same as John Wick with a pencil. But then he says that the only way to solve this problem is to fight the girl with a sword in a dream. If Takashi wins, he will be able to use the sword freely, but it won't be easy. Takashi is afraid of dying in real life if he loses in a dream, but Momoka promises that she will look after him and will not let him die at night. The whole team gathers in the nurse's office so that Takashi fights the girl with a sword in a dream, and Vei will be his to ensure before falling asleep. Momoka tells Takashi that the relationship between a magician and his aspect is similar to the relationship between a parent and a child. It's not easy. Then the nurse casts a sleep spell on Takashi, and the headmistress creates a protective dome around them. Takashi opens his eyes in the dark building where Muen is waiting for him. Muen leaves him outside, and they find themselves on the beach where Muev's clothes are exactly how he sees her in his dreams. She stumbles and tries to help him, but in the end Wei falls on him, gets embarrassed and runs into the ocean, and Takashi notices Twilight sitting on a swing. He runs up to her, but then the scene changes sharply again, and Moot finds himself in his usual clothes. Suddenly Takashi sees a hologram of his mother, who apologizes and tells him something about his brother. It disappears before he can finish speaking. After that, Takashi is suddenly attacked by his younger brother Deku, who blames him for all the troubles that happened to their family. Deku raises the blade of the fallen, an angel who can pierce anything, and then grows wings and uses a powerful magical attack. Takashi rushes to Mira, turns into Twilight, who tells the boy that he is not suitable for her. She takes out her sword, and with the help of magic creates a copy for Takashi. He takes it and prepares for battle. They tell Twilight that he will force her to obey. She does not believe him and turns her sword into a wizard killer, a magic spell left by his previous owner. Twilight attacks Takashi and he tries to evade her magic, but she is too fast, pushing him away. Muya uses a magic shield to protect him, but one blow from the wizard killer Twilight destroys the shield and absorbs it. She tells Takashi to give up, but when he refuses, she attacks Mu, slowly absorbing all her magic. Twilight says that the girl will die a slow death because all her magic will be drained, and if Takashi wants to save her, he must leave the dream. Now Luke doesn't want him to give up, but then Takashi attacks him. Takashi gets hit and loses strength, and the girl begins to absorb his magic. He falls to his knees. He remembers that Momoka said that their relationship with Twilight is similar to the relationship between the parents of a child. He remembers how his mother stopped calling him by name, and this helps him solve the problem. Takashi apologizes to Twilight when he is ready to strike. He says that he never gave her a name, but this was what she wanted most, and now he will give her a name that will give meaning to her existence. He calls it Etherno, and the girl drops the sword and breaks the ice under them. She sits on the floor and is glad that her new owner gave her a name. She shines brightly and turns back into the sword, and when Takashi takes it, Nui runs up to hug him for the fact that he succeeded. Time flies by. Soon April will come, and now Takashi and Yurumi are on a date to celebrate the end of the first year at the Academy of Magic. They talk about Erna, who is still sometimes Takashi shows prophetic dreams. But he understands when he says that he needs to sleep. Soon the admission of new students to the Japanese Hogwarts Academy and the second-year girl will begin to argue, and he literally exploded and used magic on his sister. Now she is also a magician. When Ida and Futa run into the hall for orientation, that Keishi hears a voice that gives him goosebumps. He looks forward and is surprised to see his younger brother Geku, who also gives documents for their school. Kirumi also can't believe it. Gikyu says that now he is also a magician and promises to tell later how he became one. But he turns out to be a pathetic liar because he doesn't say anything even after many days. One day at his place, and so Keishi has an unexpected meeting in the bathroom where Jakwivka apologizes for the fact that they were in a quarrel. He says that Takeshi is not to blame for the accident, but because he was upset because he lost most of his legs, he lost his temper at him. Takeshi forgives his brother for the misunderstanding and they mend their relationship again. But then he suddenly remembers his nightmare that his brother was in and begins to doubt. But this does not stop their school life from being normal and calm. They really get along well with each other. One day during lunch break, a green-haired teacher stops Takashi and tells him that his younger brother is Geku. He warns Takashi that he and his brother have completely different views on life and advises him to guide the boy in the right direction. In confusion, he realizes that the teacher is hiding something. That night, Takashi again dreams of a nightmare in which he sees a slideshow of predictions and then finds himself in endless darkness. There he sees a grown-up Geku who declares that he stole the sun from him. He says that now it's Takashi's turn and he will steal the dusk and Kirumi from him. Takashi wakes up screaming, gasping for air, but then he notices Washiju sitting on the windowsill. Takashi takes out a sword, but Washiru tells him to calm down. He is not here to fight, but to talk. He tells the boy about a history lesson that is not taught in school. The story begins at the end of the 6th century, when a group of magicians decided to rule over other magicians and began to torture those who were weaker. This group of magicians, the Nazis, or called Bridge, they considered themselves superior to everyone else and persecuted other magicians. Kakashi is in shock, but Washington Shiyu is sure that his magical eyes are telling him the truth. He asks the boy if he had heard of Kazumi, who was the leader Phantom Trailer Yuri, who says that he and Kazuma or childhood friends and studied together at Hogwarts. Kazuma was incredibly powerful, and the magic bracelet wanted to recruit him, but he refused. He knew that they wanted to use him in the war, that he wanted to live by his own rules. When Kazuma came to the magic bracelet's office to refuse their offer, the man who talked to him said that his parents are now hostages and if he wants to see them then he should join them. Kazuma was enraged and demanded to immediately release his parents, but the man told him to sign the contract first. In anger he grabbed his wand, attacked the man and killed him. Soon the magic bracelet killed his parents, and this made Kazuo rebel against them. For this he created a trailer with ghosts in which there were like-minded people and mages who were threatened by the magic bracelet. Takeshi is shocked by this story and says that Kazuma is a terrorist who killed hundreds of magicians and ordinary people. Shiyu just wanted to put an end to it, and at the end of the 20th century, he began the Great Magical War against the magic bracelet in Tokyo. Many powerful mages fought with each other and died. And when the battle was coming to an end, the previous owner of Twilight came against Kazuma. He used a destructive spell, but his friend betrayed him and stood in the way of the attack to save a woman named Yuka. He died, and this became a blow for Yuka. And Kazumi. Takashi stunned the name on us. Yuka, who beat her teacher and was one of the 15 great sorceresses of Phantom Trailer. Takashi can't believe it because it's his mother's name, and he asks Ohiru why is he telling him this story. Wataru replies that their friend who betrayed the ghost trailer was in love with Yuka, and if he had not saved her that night, Takashi would not have been in the world. Wataru wants Takashi to join them to thank him, and if he can't, he should at least return the sword because he didn't deserve it. Takashi refuses, saying that it's not his problem, and Wataru says that now he's a wizard and sooner or later he will have to choose a side. He asks Takashi to choose the Phantom Trailer or the magic bracelet right now, but he refuses. Wataru is impressed that Takashi did not choose the magic bracelet and says that he still has hope. He leaves, saying that Takashi's magic eye, which was actually an ability called vision, will show him the truth, and when he finds out, he will come to the Phantom Trailer. Wataru asks Takashi Momokuri and jumps out the window. Takashi runs after him but wakes up realizing that he was talking to Wataru in a dream. The next day, he goes to the headmistress and asks her about the war and participation in it. His mother Momoka confirms that his mother Yuko was one of the great sorceresses of the Brigade of Magicians, but when Takashi asks who killed Kazuma's parents, she falls silent. Takashi sees something in his gaze and runs away embarrassed. None of them know that in the headquarters of the Phantom Trailer, Kazuma opened his eyes for the first time in 17 years. Waiju was asleep when this happened, but he saw tears on his face. He is very excited, but Violetta predicts the future and says that Kazuma will gradually wake up, but his full awakening is just around the corner in a month. Kazuma wakes up after a 17-year sleep and sees that his faithful allies are surrounding him. Waiju says that their fight is not over yet because the Brigade of Magicians still exists. He asks Kazuma to order them to destroy them, and he gives the order to start the Second Great Magic War. At this time, Takeshi is in class and thinks about the slideshow and his nightmares. He often sees a dragon there and wonders, what does it mean? When Mu calls him to the next lesson, Takeshi stands up and a vision appears before his eyes and he shouts to everyone to duck down. Damn, Wado correct everything confused. They are silent, but then the classroom windows break and Kurumi almost falls under the fragments. But Takeshi saves her. He looks out and with horror sees a giant red dragon, exactly the same as in his dreams. The building shakes and Ida runs to save her sister Futaba, and Takeshi helps Kurumi get up and runs out with everyone else into the street. The dragon spews out flames and turns the classroom into, and Takashi barely manages to escape. Wei tells him to look out the window, and they see that mages in red robes have entered the territory of the academy and are attacking the students. Takashi is worried about Geku, runs after him with Kurumi and Mu and goes to check Shuggle. She is with a group of magicians in red and they attack her from both sides. But at the last moment her brother appears and saves her and then defeats everyone with the help of ice magic. Director Momoka comes out of her office and kills all the attackers, but then a team of 3 magicians appears. She finds out in them the invincible trio from the Pendragon community and asks why they teamed up with the ghostly trailer. The 3 magicians are not in the mood to talk and immediately begin their plan to destroy it. The first magician uses his stapler to seal the room, and Momo's black door magic does not work inside the sealed room. Then the second magician sucks all the air out of the room. But when the director does not fall unconscious from lack of oxygen, she is shocked. Momoka plunges her compass sword into the floor and forges a barrier to return the room's previous appearance. She says that she found a weak point in their trick because they underestimated her. She realized that they can breathe without air because they are connected to each other, and the black door that she created allowed her to always be in touch with them. Then Momoka creates a black hole that sucks them inside and locks them in her basement. However, her fight is not over yet, as the Violet from the Ghost trailer appears in front of her. She summons a demonic warrior using her cards and sends him to attack Mamuku, who is having a hard time coping with this. Then Elite suddenly cancels the demon and instead calls his dragon, and Onmaka realizes that he can defeat him. He attacks her with his tail and she tries to defend herself, but it is all useless and she loses consciousness. On the other side, Takashi and Kirumi are looking for Geku, who appears in front of them in the red dress of the attackers. The girl is relieved to see that he is safe, but leading the strike by Takashi warns him of the danger. He confronts his brother, who curses his vision of the strike, saying that it was magic befitting Kakashi. Didn't he think that it was too convenient for him to be forgiven for his sins so easily? And the latter realizes that Gekko is right now working with the Ghost trailer. He claims that he learned to use magic from the Washington Shiyu and is now a loyal soldier under his command. Kirumi asks him to stop this madness and leave the Ghost trailer, but Gekko refuses, saying that he likes it there and thanks them for giving him the power to take revenge on his ghosts to his brother for everything he did. Gekko disappears and instantly appears behind Takashi to attack him. Takeshi blocks his attack, but Gekko disappears again and continues to attack him from behind until he finally catches up with him and knocks him down. Kirumi asks Gekko to stop hitting Takashi, but he, blinded with rage, continues to beat him. He tells them about his magic, which allows him to teleport anywhere. He wanted to test her in a fight with his brother and discovered that she is much stronger than Gekko. He lifts the sword and Takashi tries to counterattack, but Gekko had already teleported behind his back and hit him in the shoulder. Kirumi runs up to Takashi and, crying, covers him with herself. She asks Deku why he is doing this. He replies that he is taking revenge on his brother who pushed him under the car. He has teleportation magic, which was an excellent compensation for his damaged leg, and he is going to use it as a weapon. Takashi, hearing this, gets up and takes out a sword, telling Kiruma to move away. He asks his brother if he will be satisfied if he kills him, but Gika replies that he will leave him alive but will take everything that is dear to him, including his girlfriend and the sword. He uses a powerful spell to turn into a demon and black wings grow on him, and the sword is covered in black flames. The Gekko accelerates with all his might and hits Takashi in the stomach. He continues to beat him from all sides and then with a powerful blow knocks him out. Kirumi cries and runs up to Takashi again, and Gika tells her to move away from him when she doesn't listen. He pushes her away and kicks his brother, but Kirumi breaks free and runs to her boyfriend. She kisses him, and her lip balm activates magic, turning her into Takashi. Now Gekko is very strong and ought to even beats her from his brother when she resists only, and he realizes that under this appearance she is still Kirumi and regrets that he hit her and takes her and his sword. Takashi ends up in a dark place in his dreams and Etherno calls him by name. She gives him an energy ball, saying that this is all she can do for him. As soon as Takashi touches the energy ball, a bright flash of light shows him a prophecy in which he sees how Jakuvkat, his crazy little brother, is going to kill her mother. But this is not his only problem, and Eterno begs him to find her quickly. They tries to find Takashi and sees that he is lying unconscious, and next to him is Violet. She thinks that this woman from the haunted trailer from knocked down her boyfriend. They points a gun at Violet, who uses her cards to summon a demonic nun with a whip. They shoots at her, but the nun is very fast and dodges lightning and then a fire bullet using her calls. As a distraction, Violet decides to take Takashi for herself as a new Tomura to save him, and jumps over the demonic nun, who grabs her leg with a whip and throws her to the ground. The girl has lost her gun and the nun is about to finish her off, but then three girls come to her aid and completely destroy the nun. They create a powerful vortex that carries away purple smoke, and Mir goes into it and catches Takashi. When the officer Ghost runs away, Mu Takashi, and he tells her that Gikyu kidnapped Kirumi. The leader of the girls who just saved them comes up to him and introduces himself as Aina, a fourth-year student at the Japanese School of Magic and a member of the Camelot community. At that moment, a fur coat comes there who was worried about his sister, but is relieved to see that his girlfriend, Aina, has the situation under control. Takashi tries to get back on his feet, but he is badly injured and falls. Suga says that he needs to see a doctor and with his friends they decide to take him to Camelot Hospital. In the real world, when they take him away, he moot the artifact that Kirumi left after her kidnapping and picks him up 3 days later. Takashi wakes up in the hospital to him and takes care of him as a personal nurse. She cries with Joe that he is okay and he wipes her tears. At that moment, Ida bursts into the room, interrupting them, and hugs Takashi, telling him about his tragedy on the day of the attack. People from the inspection bureau took Futaba for interrogation, and when they tried to resist, they attacked him. Muri Takashi at the inspection bureau is a special division of the magic bracelet that deals with incredibly strong and talented young magicians. They have no news to his sister and even a fur coat. Now Takashi can't help them with anything. Takashi calms his friend down by saying that Futaba would be better to be somewhere far away from the battlefield, but this reminds him that Kirumi is also taken away. Soon Suba and his girlfriend and Takashi find out from them that even the director Momoka is missing. Now most of the healthy students are gathering at the headquarters of the magic bracelet to prepare for the war with the ghostly trailer. But Suga laughs for Esha to stay in Camelot until she fully recovers. Takashi can't sit still and asks if they had any information about Kirumi so he can go and save her, but Ina says that they don't have any leads and they can't do anything right now. Mui is thinking about the magic item that Kirumi left but doesn't tell anyone about it. At night, Mui falls asleep next to Kanti wakes up to go for a night walk, cursing his helplessness. He hears Suba and Ina talking about him and hides to eavesdrop. Pana wants Take to leave Camelot because only women live here and they have already done him a great favor by allowing him to stay and tear out Suba. He asks to be left for a little while longer because he is still too weak, and if he returns, the magic bracelet will definitely send him to the front line. Ina decides to agree with her boyfriend's request and says that she will talk about it with her superiors. After hearing all this, Takashi returns to his room feeling even more helpless than before, but is a little cheered up by seeing Muo. While he is resting in the hospital, the world of wizards begins to change. At the headquarters of the Phantom Trailer, Kazuma has gathered his army for war and sent his most loyal friend Wasiru to hunt down the great magician named Seijuro. Succeeds in his mission and kills all the guards and wounds the sage, but leaves him alive to explain his devilish plan. The magical gift of the old magician protected the world of the living from the magicians, but if he dies, the spells will disappear and they can fight them again. Kazuma plans to destroy the wizard brace and the 7 great communities so that they can create a new world that will be peaceful and harmonious. As soon as he finishes explaining the plan, Vasio, who kills the sage, and fireworks burst out from his body, signaling that the gift of the spell has been removed. Now the mages can freely enter the world of the living and fight there. That is exactly what they do. Mages on both sides. Soon they go to the world of the living and begin to fight in the air, leaving ordinary people in bewilderment. Their battle destroys the building and kills many people, and Takashi finds out about this enough. Soon he is shocked and a prophecy pops up in his head again that Geku will kill his mother. He asks after some thought at his house. Takashi's mother Yuka noticed the beginning of the war and is very upset about it. When Takashi arrives there with Subo and another Yuka, is relieved to see him, but the trauma of the past still stands between them. She gives Yuka a letter from the leader of Camelot, who officially asks her to train Takashi. Both boys are shocked, but Yuka replies that she is no longer a magician and that it is not her business to participate in their war. Anna asks Kakashi if he wants to become stronger or remain a loser for life, and he answers that he wants to become strong enough to save Kirumi. Yuka takes the letter and finds a ring in it that makes her agree to the request. She brings Takashi to the training room, and when he asks how she can teach him if can't use magic, shows him the power of the ring, which temporarily allows her to use magic. Then she asks her son if he wants to become strong to save Kirumi or defeat Phantom Trailer, but Takashi replies that he doesn't want to participate in the war. He doesn't understand which side is right, but will fight to protect his friends. His mother understands his determination and starts training, asking show how much magic he can use. She is not impressed with his magic and decides to train him in the harshest way possible. Takashi blindfolded and he tries to fight his mother arm with a bamboo sword, but she defeats him and leaves his body bruised. Little by little, Takashi gets better thanks to training, but he doesn't know that his mother is not doing well. She used the ring and her life force was spent on creating magic, and she risks her life to prepare her son for war. A few days later, Takashi meets with Mo, who asks how his training is going. Takashi laughed heartily before Kirumi again began to worrying about him, and his mood has finally improved. She says that this is a magical artifact that is used to teleport magicians to the right place and suggests that he can lead them to Kiruma. Takashi is surprised and asks, she didn't say anything about this before, and Mui replies that he would definitely rush to save Kirumi without thinking about how weak he is now. She is sure that he has realized his situation and will not do anything until he finishes his training. Takashi thanks her and promises that he will finish his training first, and then Muan apologizes because he believes that it is her fault that Takashi became a magician. She cries. Takashi says that it is his fault that he was too weak and that she should thank her for the fact that she was next to him in sorrow and in joy. Meanwhile, Kirumi was unconscious all this time in the headquarters of the Phantom Trailer, and she dreams of a nightmare in which Takashi is dead. She wakes up in horror from this dream and finds herself in an unfamiliar room. She looks in low, even more surprised to see that now she looks like Takashi, while she wonders what is happening to her. Deku comes to her and she remembers how he injured Takashi and how she turned into her boyfriend. When kissed him, she wipes her lips and the magic disappears along with the lip balm, and she wonders where she got her new power. Gaku says that now she looks better and he loves her so much. Kirumi is horrified and says that he doesn't love her and wants to take Takeshi only because she is jealous. She says that neither she nor the sword belongs to Gaku, and in a rage knocks down the door to the Kirumi runs away after her. She doesn't know where she is, but then she stumbles upon an Agami. You are surprised to see he asks her what she is doing in the headquarters of the Phantom Trailer, and Kirumi is shocked but still trusts in and asks for help. She wants to escape from Geku from this place, and Agami takes her to his room where he says that his memories have returned, but he still remembers what happened during the time of the magic bracelet and the annoying girl from their group. Haruka opens the door and Agami falls on Kirumi. An awkward position. Haruka asks when he got a girlfriend, and they attack her, saying that this is not so. Kirumi asks them to help her return to Takeshi, and after a long conversation Haruka decides to help because she is very angry at Geku, who stole their place. They take her out of the room, saying that the castle was created with the help of magic, and like in the Hogwarts dorms, its layout is constantly changing. They lead Kirumi to the basement, but notice that Geku is coming towards them, and the girls are hiding, and Agami enters into battle with him. Being an experienced pervert, Geku notices Kirumi when he sees her hips and goes to her. Hataru invites her to turn into Kirumi to hide. Kirumi puts balm on her lips, and then Hataru kisses her passionately and she turns into Kirumi. The original Hataru runs away, and Geku does not recognize the transformed Kirumi, so he goes forward. However, Wagami recognizes her and leads her to the exit, and Kirumi holds onto his shirt because she is afraid. Outside they meet Jizuru, who wants to talk to Ogami, and he leaves, leaving Kirumi alone. She is still trying to find a way out of the castle and runs to the exit, but it's a damn labyrinth and she gets tired quickly. She still hasn't found anything, but when she wipes the underside of her lips, her magic disappears and she becomes herself again. Kirumi is worried, but still decides to move on and finds a dark corridor. As soon as she enters there, the door closes behind her and a man approaches her. At first she is scared, but when he extends his hand to her, she takes it, and he turns a huge mirror into a portal, and they enter it. Kirumi, surprised to find herself in the office, and is horrified to find out that the man in front of her is the infamous terrorist Kazumo, but he is not going to harm her at home. Takashi has become much stronger, and his mother decides to teach him a powerful spell. She creates a magic circle and asks Takashi to focus on it. Takashi follows her instructions, begins to float in the air, and downloads spells from the cloud. Yuka looks at him and remembers the good old ones times, and they were a happy family, and finishes training to deal with nostalgia. Before leaving, Hika asks Yuka she never told them that she was a magician, and Yuka realizes that she wasn't a good enough magician to tell him about it. Suddenly she faints, and Takashi supports her while she tries to tell him something important, but he asks her to rest later. That day Takashi thinks that now he is strong enough to save Kirumi and thinks about going to save her. He sees that Muida is approaching him and says that he will not go alone. They are ready to support him, and Takashi presses a button on a magical device that takes them to the headquarters of Ghostly Trailers. They appear from the mirror in a dark hall where Oga and Hataru are already waiting for them. Oga asks Takashi why he has a magic artifact if Kirumi had it, and Takashi gets angry, demanding to know where his girlfriend Wagami attacks Takashi, offering him to win if he wants. Get answers. Takeshi blocks his attack with his spare sword and dodges his blows with his vision of the strike. Muen Ida want to help him, but Hataru takes out a syringe and says that they will have to fight her. Wagami uses release and increases his strength to overpower Takashi and knock him to the ground. He shoots him with a magic bullet and then delivers A finishing blow. Takeshi blocks him with a shield which knocks him back, and Oga begins to enjoy the fight in the second battle. The advantage is on Hotaru's side, and she takes out a syringe with dinosaur poison to finish off the Mui and go, but the boy tells her that he was holding back because she is a girl, but will not waste any more time. He shoots a fiery bullet at Hotaru and breaks her syringe, and when she starts to swear, he knocks her down. Teshi helps Takashi and shoots at the yoke, which attacks her in response, and taking advantage of this, Takashi says spell and ends it. Just when Wagami attacks him, he releases the aura of the sword and easily dodges all the attacks of the enemies. Ogami also uses the aura of the sword and pushes away Tessie, who asks Mu and help him. When he gives her a signal, Tessie attacks Ogami, but his heavy shield reflects and breaks his sword. Tessie attacks him again and asks him to remove the shield. She complies and he uses magic and attacks Oga, and then uses the second type of magic with others. I combo attack breaks the heavy shield, and Ogami is defeated. Tessie tells him that now he is much stronger and can see the future, so it would be wise to give up. Wagami admits defeat, and Ada brings Hotaru. There they tell Takashi and his group everything that happened between them and Kurumi, but they have no idea where she is now. Takashi's vision tells him that they are telling the truth, and he thanks them for trying to help Kurumi, but since they cannot find Kurumi, he understands that the mission is over and is returning home, not knowing that Kurumi is with Kazumo, who tells her secrets that only he knows. Takashi returns home, and he has a bad feeling that something bad will happen. As soon as he approaches the gate, he sees that Geku is leaving the house covered in blood. Takashi in horror remembers his dream in which his brother killed their mother and asks Geku what he did. Geku answers that Yuko was the first to attack him, and he was just defending himself. Takeshi loses self-control, takes out the sword, and tells his brother to get out of the way. Geku laughs at him and asks him not to worry because Yuka is still alive. He uses release, and Takashi notices that he is holding the thorn, which has distorted due to the dark side of his personality. Geku licks the sword and says that he wants to test it. Takashi in a rage uses release, and Geku decides to torture him a little more, command the sword to take on human form. Takashi sees Eterno in chains and feels sorry for her, but he doesn't have time for that because she obeys Geku's order to attack him. Takeshi begs her to stop, but she is completely emotionless and pushes him away. She picks up his sword and is about to deal the killing blow, but Deku stops her and turns her back into a sword. He wants to kill his brother himself, but first wants to tell him a terrible family secret. Geku tells Takashi that 3 years ago, the accident was not his fault. They both thought that it was Takashi who pushed him under car, but it wasn't really. It was their mother's fault because she asked the leader of Camelot to kill her youngest son, but she has nothing on Yuan. When she found out that he would be limping for the rest of his life, she couldn't bring herself to hurt him again. Takashi can't believe it and accuses Jaku of lying, but he says that he learned about it from their mother. She did it because Kyle showed her a vision of the future in which Jaku would become a terrible monster and she wanted to prevent it. Takashi is shocked to hear this and raises his sword, cursing his brother. Geku gets angry at his tirade and demonstrates his destroying power everything around him. He tells Takashi that they need to solve this once and for all, but he doesn't want to fight with his little brother. However, Takashi realizes that Geku is no longer the person he knew, and now it's time for him to stop him before he hurts someone else. Both brothers are transformed from Geku. He grows demonic wings. His sword is covered with dark magic, and Takashi demonstrates his new transformation called Crisis Edge, which gives him a purple lightsaber like Samuel L. Jackson. Heku teleports and attacks him, but this time Takashi is fast enough to predict his movement and block them. They rise into the sky where Kashi predicts all the movements of his brother and dodges them. He injures the jacuzzi, he gets hit and then finds himself in the place where he is going to teleport to deliver the fatal blow. But they are separated by a flash of lightning and they do not have time to collide. Takashi raises his head and sees that the armies of wizards and trailer ghosts are already here and stand opposite each other. Van wants to help Takashi. Atsuba tells her to maintain formation and not interfere on the other side. Shiryu leads the trailer ghosts and orders them to kill everyone. A battle begins between the two groups, and while Ida and Murakurumi are also there trying to find Takeshi behind the large-scale battle, the Jakwovka becomes faster and reckless, but still cannot break through Takashi's defense. Soon they both exhale and the Jakwovka killed him because he will never be able to forgive him for attacking their mom, and now he has nowhere to go. Takashi tells him to leave the ghost of the trailers and return to the family where they are. Murakurumi notices them when they are about to shake hands and shouts to Takashi to move away, but it is delayed. As soon as Geku takes his brother by the hand, he shows his true colors and calls him a fool. He attacks him, but Kirumi rushes to Takashi and hugs him, sacrificing himself to protect him. Geku is shocked that he wounded his beloved, but Takashi, in desperation, tries to calm down Kirumi, who is now seriously injured. He stops the fight and begins to heal her, and when Wenbu notices him, she leaves her enemy and rushes to him, and Suba covers her. She approaches Takashi and begins to heal Kirumi, and he asks her to take care of her while he finishes the fight. Now he is overcome with rage and unleashes all his power on Geku, who continues to claim that it is not his fault. Takashi does not hold back and collapses Flurry and so on his brother, throwing him back. He overpowers Geku and knocks him down. Takashi lands next to him and says that it's time to finish, seeing that Geku has nothing left to cover himself with. Jaku again begins to curse him, saying that it is his fault that he stole Kirumi from him. They again enter into battle. Their magic gets out of control and destroys everything around them. Black lightning flies out, and a magical circle on the Eterns begins to behave strangely, their power visible throughout the city. Far from the battle site, Momoka arrives to take part in the Great War. She realizes that the brothers' forces are getting out of control, and to stop them, she creates a black hole and directs it at them, saying that Kazu will not be happy. The black hole grows and consumes the city, leaving behind only a crater that confuses Takashi's friends. In the destroyed house, Takashi Kazuma heals Yuka, and Violet is waiting for him outside. She says that they have accomplished their mission and now they can begin to restore the world. Kazuma asks Yuko why she is still faithful to him despite the fact that he has changed so much, and she replies that she vowed to serve him when he saved her life. Kazuma remembers the past, takes out from his pocket a crumpled photo of Kirumi in a swimsuit that only Takashi has. He looks at Yuka, calls her Mon, and promises at this time he will change the future soon. Takeshi wakes up on a bench in the garden and does not understand where he is and what is happening to him. Looks around and sees that Tsuru is in the Academy of Magic and is surprised that it was rebuilt after the war. He looks around and sees his mother, but as soon as he decides to approach her, he notices next to her a green suit teacher who is now student herself. Yuka and her student pass by without noticing him, and that Keishi is shocked, not believing his eyes. Later, he sees a poster on which it says that now is 1998 and realizes that he was sent in the past because of the magic of Eterno when he encountered Geku. Even more shocking events occur and Takeshi sees how Washington, Shiyu and Momoko are walking together and their friend Tsukiyomi joins them. Takeshi remembers his name, the magician who sacrificed himself to spare his mother. Then Kazuma joins them. Takeshi begins to understand what is happening, but suddenly Geku comes up with a limp to Kazumi and his friends and joins them. He seems to have become part of their company and Takeshi does not understand how it happened. He wants it to be just a bad dream and for it to end as soon as possible.